Okay, welcome everybody. We've had a little technical difficulty. We've been having trouble with our GoToWebinar all week, so I apologize for the delay, but I'm glad that you are here and ready to join us. This afternoon, we are going to have a presentation entitled How to Engage in Effective Mentoring Relationships. And we are so lucky to have our presenter, Jennifer Looby, join us to share with all of you her experiences as a social worker. And she has extensive experience working with youth ranging all ages. She's currently the social worker at King Street Primary School, and previous to that had worked for several years at Rogers Park Middle School, on top of other professional experience working with youth. So she has a wealth of knowledge, and she's very passionate about mentoring and sharing information that she can provide to help you be successful in your mentoring relationships, regardless of the grades that you're in. So just a couple of quick things. If you have any questions, we are asking questions to be typed in the chat box, very much just like you just responded to us. And we will interrupt as we get a series of questions to be able to answer them to the best that we can. Also, please note that this presentation is being recorded, so if you would like to reference it at future time, you can access it by going to the DSABC website, and that is where this webinar, as well as our other webinars in our series, are able to be viewed at any time. So without further ado, I would like to hand this over to Jen Looby.
Hello, thank you for that nice introduction, Mary. But yes, I have had experiences from ages 5 until 18. I started my career at Green Chimney School in the Therapeutic Day program. I was there for 4 years, and then I've been blessed to work in the Danbury Public Schools for the past 13 years. Before I begin my presentation about building effective relationship with your mentee, I like to first go over some of the behaviors that you might see that I have seen in some of my counseling sessions working with each age group. So we'll start with the little ones. So all the mentors that work with the little ones in elementary school, pretty much just from ages 5 and 7. I just want to again go over some of the behaviors that you might see when you have them. So again, elementary school age, they still need the security of their home and their parents. They learn by imitation. So you are a really good positive role model in front of them. They will learn from you. They're dependent on adults for approval. They respond well to praise. They can have fears, for example, loud noises. Some of the students here at King Street are afraid when the fire drill goes off. Some kids are afraid of the dark. Some kids are afraid of monsters. So that would be that would be very common of a little one telling you that they have fears. They're able to follow two-step directions. It would be very hard for them to be able to follow a three-step direction because they're extremely concrete. And I would first start, if I was working with them, start with just a one-step direction. They're full of energy. They have a short attention span. They love the one-to-one attention. I feel like they love so much having the attention by an adult that at times I feel like I'm a rock star here at King Street. They are so excited, especially me coming from the middle school to elementary. There's such a desire for them to want to have one-to-one time with an adult. They desire repetition of favorite activity. So if they love playing Candyland, they might love playing Candyland every time you come for the year. And that is okay. I noticed that especially with elementary. They come in, the same kids that play the Legos, they play the Legos from September to June. It's really important just to kind of let them guide what they want to do, what their activity is. They can get easily upset by changes in their routine. For example, if their teacher is absent that day, or if they're going on a field trip, this age group has a harder time dealing with change. Using fine motor skills might be difficult, like for example, like writing. Um, I wouldn't expect, I don't think that would be a good activity for you to do with the little ones, is having them do any type of writing. Coloring and drawing pictures is different, but writing is very difficult. They also have difficulties tying their shoes. They might have a hard time putting beads, like little beads onto string. I would just be really aware that fine motor skills are definitely challenging for this age group. Um, they usually always want to follow the rules and they want to please. Um, they can be, at times, and then can't take this personal, they can be extremely rigid, demanding, and sometimes slow to respond. So you might ask them a question and you might have to ask them more than once in order to get a response. Um, if they are upset, or sometimes if they don't get their way, they might tantrum, especially the little ones, especially the kindergartners. I see that they tend to be the ones that tantrum the most. And again, they are the center of their own world, and they are such a delight to work with, the little guys. So thank you for the ones working with the little guys. Now I'm going to talk about the preteen. So this is like ages 7 to 12, pretty much middle school years. These are tough. These are tough years. I definitely experienced it firsthand working with these preteens. In sixth grade, when they would come in, they wanted Mrs. Looby so much to come to her office, and they wanted to be able to spend as much time as they wanted. They would love to spend every minute. But then by eighth grade, they're running down the hallway like, sometimes with their face down, not saying hello to me. So there's a lot of growth, social emotional growth between these ages. They're developing independence. They have their own they have a strong will of their own. They're pushing limits, boundaries. They can be disrespectful, and be pushing away from adults. It's really important with this age group to be a good role model. They are still emotionally bonded with their family. Um, and again, they could start distancing themselves from adults. So, for example, you might have had this child in elementary school, and they were so lovable and so happy to see you, and now you follow them to middle school, which is wonderful. And you might be seeing a different kid. You might be seeing a kid that doesn't want to come maybe with you, or more quieter. And again, it's hard not to take that stuff personal, but you just kind of got to remember, like, developmentally, like, where they are in their ages. And I think middle school, out of all the ages, is one of the toughest ages of kids to work with.
And I just want to piggyback on what Jen is saying with this age group in particular, because I know that some of our mentors kind of struggle and take it personally when they make that transition up. And a strategy that we have found when working with the middle schoolers, and particularly with the mentoring program, is if we allow some flexibility in terms of meeting, maybe setting up an every other week meeting schedule, for example. That seems to work, and what we have found is in many instances that those relationships come back stronger the next year, because you as the mentor, as the caring adult and friend, really took into consideration their desire, for example, to be with friends. Everything about this age is really about the social. So it's just important, as difficult and as it sometimes can be working with this age group, it is important, like Jen said, totally not to take any of this personally. It is sort of where they're at developmentally. And again, by being a good role model and showing that we're respecting where they're coming from, we have found that they in turn learn from that and the relationships come back stronger.
Thank you, Mary. Believe it or not, this is the age that I feel is in the most need of mentors, because this is a time when they're trying to become like a little mini adult. They're trying to find themselves in this world, and this is such a great opportunity to be that positive role model for that child. Okay, now we're going to talk about adolescence, ages 13 through 19, usually high school years. It's a transitional stage in their life. It's a time of turmoil for these kids as well, because they're they're trying to, they're still young, but they're wanting to be an adult. They're much harder to engage. Their friends are their everything. They can be extremely rebellious. Um, and there's lots of pressures also placed on them in terms of peer pressure. Um, they have issues of independence and self-identity. Um, they're pushing themselves from adults, including their family. I know a lot of parents struggle. I have little guys. I'm afraid when they become adolescents because I see what could happen. They don't want mommy and daddy as much, and the same thing goes with not wanting the mentor as much. And they can still love the mentor, but they're still like pushing away. They're so conflicted. You have to have a ton of patience working with this age. Believe it or not, they are able to make the connections with adults. They are able to. Try not to take their behavior as personal. They can be extremely moody. They can act entitled, and they can act as if they're an adult. Again, you have to have extreme patience, and as much as they are distancing themselves from you, please try to always keep that connection with them because they need somebody in their life while they're struggling through adolescence. Okay, so now we're going to be discussing um, developing a relationship, how to develop a relationship with your mentee. So it takes time to build a relationship. Even for me as a social worker, it takes lots of time. It takes time for kids to open up and trust. Um, and the child and the mentor must meet long enough and often to build a relationship. And I know you mentors are great here at King Street. Like you guys come consistently, and that's really important. Like showing up when you need to show up. Obviously, things happen in your life, and there's emergencies that happen, and that's fine, and that's understandable. But again, the more that you meet with them, the more it gives them the opportunity to trust you. It takes children time to feel comfortable and trust. Learning to trust, especially for children who've been let down by adults in their lives, is a gradual process. Especially kids that might have been abused or might not come from the most loving background. Those kids, especially if adults have if they're not able to trust their own parents or their caregivers, it's going to take them an extremely long time for them to trust you as their mentor. I also think it's important to know that you never ever push children to talk. Even for me as a social worker, I never try to push children to talk because what might happen is it may cause them to shut down. Um, it's important for them to understand your role as a mentor, that you're not expected to change or fix the problems in their lives. I know as a mentor, you guys are so good, and some mentors have come to me in the past and have asked, what can I do to, change this kid? How can I make things better in their life? And I try to explain just the relationship you have with them. That's the goal. We want these kids to build a positive relationship with you. Um, very important for me to note is the confidentiality, that we really need to protect and keep children's privacy. Do not share information that the mentee shares with you to others. When I was working at the middle school, I was very disheartened I was in the office and I heard a mentor talking about some of the problems that his mentee was dealing with, and they were some serious problems. And I think he might have been uncomfortable with some of the information that the kid was sharing, and he didn't know how to handle it, so he was kind of making light of it to another staff in our building, and I had to pull him to the side and say, it's not appropriate for you to be discussing this child's personal life with even the staff at the school. Obviously, you could talk to me, the principal, but again, you really have to respect the privacy, just how I have to respect their privacy and confidentiality as a social worker, so do you. Under no circumstances, don't ever promise your mentee to keep secrets. because there might be a time where they do share something with you that's extremely concerning. You can assure them that if they share difficult information, that you again, you can assure them that you're going to find an adult at school to help them. There might be situations, hopefully not, where your mentee confides in you about being abused or threatened. You should let them know that you have to tell someone about it so they can get help. You might want to start by asking them, like, is there anybody in the school you trust? Because if they work with me, they'll probably say me or their teacher. And then maybe share with them that you're going to talk to them and try to get them help. Now, Mary, would they be responsible filing 136? Okay, it would be my responsibility as a social worker. If you came to me with concerns about abuse, then I would probably interview the child again, and I would file a DCF report. And it would be anonymous. It would be coming from me, not you, so you wouldn't have to worry. You wouldn't have to tell the children that it came from you. Another big note, please try not to be their therapist or social worker and try to fix their life. As me as a social worker, I'm trained to counsel youth, and especially if we're talking about like really sad things, like for example, if a child just say lost their father over the summer and they never brought it up to you, I wouldn't bring it up to them. Because if they start crying with you and are really upset, as a social worker, I'm trained to kind of learn how to close them up. You wouldn't want them to go back to class crying or feeling raw or sad, because if that was something that was discussed with me and the kid was upset, I would then call the parent and tell the parent that, Johnny was crying today about Dad. I just wanted you to give a heads up. Again, if you're concerned with anything your mentee shares, please do not hesitate to speak up. If it's something really urgent, you can ask to speak to me, the social worker. If not, my principal is extremely involved. You could ask to speak to the principal. If for some reason you can't get in touch with anyone from the school that day, please contact Mary Gregory, because I would want somebody to know, especially if it was something to do with abuse or neglect. I found this great research study on the web. It was done by the Big Brothers and Big Sisters mentors. They had this research study. What they did was they interviewed mentees, and what they did was they took all the information, the data, and they were able to look at what approaches worked best to build a positive relationship and build trust. And I thought this was really interesting, and I think it's so true. I use this in my practice as well. So I'm going to give you some of the approaches they gave. Be a friend, a positive role model. Please don't act like their parent, especially with the adolescents or preteens. They don't want to feel like they're being lectured to. That would be they definitely would shut down and maybe not want to meet with you anymore. Have realistic goals. Check the referral form for goals recommended. I know when I refer a student from King Street, I put some goals down on there, and usually they're goals around building a positive relationship with an adult. We want you to have fun with your little mentee. We want you to have fun by playing games, doing crafts, coloring, reading stories together. We want you to be supportive and understanding. We want you to be a really good listener. And being a good listener would be to give them like really good eye contact. Sometimes with the little ones, that they're telling me something really important, I'll try to like kneel down to their level so they know like I'm really listening and that they're very, very important. Try not to be on your cell phone when you meet with them. You want to try to give them your 150% attention. And again, respect that trust that your mentee places in you. Another important, remember that your relationship is with the child and not the child's family. Like if the child may offer you to, here's my phone number, I would never call the family at home. Your relationship again is with that child. We the social workers in the building, we discuss with the parents, sign a permission slip. We discuss with them anything that comes up in a relationship between a mentor and mentee. Remember that you're the person responsible for building the relationship. Give your mentee the voice to choose what activity they want to do. So, for example, like we said before, like the little guys, they might want to play Candyland every week. that would be fine. Just let them do whatever activity they want to do. Be positive and create a comfortable environment. Try to leave your personal problems to yourself and come in smiling. And I know that's a really hard thing to do. And me as a social worker, I always have to be aware of my own self and my own personal problems. And I always try hard. You know, I would never discuss with the kids anything personally about like any problems that I have. I always come into school smiling. I always try to come in happy, regardless of what's going on in my personal life. Let your mentor have much of the control over what the two of you talk about. Um, because they might have like fun things they want to share with you first. So kind of see where they are when you're talking with them. Again, if the mentor, if the mentee's quiet, please don't take it personally. There might be a day where a mentee didn't eat breakfast, or he had a little fight with mom in the morning, and he might not be, or didn't sleep good the night before. He might not be like in the best of moods that day. But again, try not to take it personally. If for some reason they're really quiet and and I know silence is very uncomfortable, maybe you might want to give them some ideas for topics like favorite foods, what's their favorite animal, any vacations they have taken, what their favorite subject is in school, what their friends are like. Usually giving topics is usually a nice way of trying to getting them to talk. I put some really beautiful quotes up there that I felt were really important thinking about mentors. And one is, we make a living by what we get. We make a life by what we give, by Winston Churchill. A mentor empowers a person to see a possible future and believe it can be obtained, by Sean Hitchcock. Again, thank you so much for being a mentor and shaping our youth. Every child in this world deserves to have a person that believes in them. Thanks.
Thanks, Jen. I just wanted to circle back to that goal setting. So it's true, when you make the referral and when the referral comes in for the kids to receive a mentor, we do ask the person making the referral to write a goal. And that should be shared with the mentors at the time of the match. Many of the mentors are with the students over many years. So could you give some tips on maybe like how a mentor could maybe sit down and write a new goal with the student as they develop? So they just take some, as the kids grow through the program, they take some ownership, or as things evolve.
Yes, I have to do the same. I have to do the same thing as a social worker, because I work with kids over long periods of time, and my kids that are not special ed, that have special ed goals, I have to come up with goals with my student. And the best way to do that is I would keep it very simple, and I would focus on one area. For example, it might be that Johnny wants to be a better friend, or Johnny wants to get better grades in school. I'm trying to think of the older guys. Or try a new club. A kid that's shy, you might want to encourage to try new things. And you can do that just with them. You can take out a piece of paper. Lots of kids are visual, and maybe you could write down some ideas, some things they'd like to really work on. For that year, I would definitely start doing that like in September. And have them write down, brainstorm some things that they would love to work on. Again, try to keep it like extremely positive. And with the little ones, it might be hard because they're so little, like to get the words out. But I definitely think for middle school or high school, they're definitely, they're capable of being able to have good insight into themselves and be able to verbalize what areas in their life they'd like to improve.
Good, thanks, Jen. We'll take any questions now. So if you have any questions or concerns or anything you'd like to ask to pick Jen's brain, she has lots of a wealth of information and a lot of experience working with the kids in the mentoring program. Okay, well, it looks like we don't have any questions, so hopefully Jen addressed all the questions you may have. I just want to make one note regarding how we're evolving as a program. Down the line, some things to look for coming this spring. We are looking to transition our program into a module where mentors will be able to track each one of their mentoring sessions online. And so that would just be an online tool that we have that would be cloud-based. It's called Mentor Core. And we'll get into the details and some training on how to use that. But I think it's a helpful tool for many reasons, but one in particular to circle back to what Jen was saying around goals. I know that that's one feedback that we get quite often from mentors is, how do I know if I'm making a difference? Why does this child have a mentor, etc. So it'll be a tool that'll be helpful, not just for you, but it'll be an interactive tool between you, the mentor, and the staff at the school. And it looks like we do have one question. So Marilyn, I'm not sure if I am understanding your question. Is the goal for my second year? So maybe you're asking, what is the goal for my second year? And I think that you work with an elementary student. This is for, yes, so the question is, my second year with my first grader is simply to have her enjoy our time. Is that enough? I think that is enough, but I'm going to let Jen kind of expand on that a little bit more.
Oh, yes, definitely. You're right. You simply just want to have fun, enjoy your time with the mentor. And yes, that is enough. Believe it or not, building a relationship takes time. And that's all we want you to do. We want you to have fun, and we want you to enjoy each other's time. We want it to be a non-pressured time for the child. We want the child to be relaxed and comfortable. And yes, enjoying the time is definitely more than enough.
And I remember speaking with Jen early in the school year as we were kind of going over the roster and getting the mentoring started here at King Street, which sort of was how we kind of came to asking her to present today, is she just shared with me that it's important for mentors to understand that if nothing else, that 1 hour a week that they're spending with you is just a positive distraction from any of the other issues that they may be having in their life. So it really is as simple as that. I know as the kids get older and their issues become more serious and more difficult, it can be overwhelming. And I think we will do a follow-up webinar specific to adolescents and when there are overwhelming situations. But generally speaking, just to be there. So the next question is, if a mentee drops from the program, is the social worker or guidance counselor notified so there can be at their new school to make sure that they are on track with their goals? So Joyce, so to answer your question generally, so the goals that the student may have from the mentoring program may be aligned yet somewhat different from what the school may be working on with them in counseling sessions, for example. So the counselors do know when the kids drop out of the program. No student is ever forced to participate in the program. And some matches just end because the work of the mentor is done. So for example, if one situation comes to mind where we had a little girl who had been disfigured from an accident and was being, a little bit bullied and having a hard time socially. And so she worked, with her mentor, but as the child entered high school, she had become very comfortable with herself, and she did have good self-esteem and was making good friends. So it was just okay for her to then not participate in the program. Okay, she just wanted to be sure. Okay. Yes, yes. Do you want to speak to that?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a very good question. Yes, if the mentee does drop from the program, there's usually a reason why we're making a referral for that child to see a mentee. So they're definitely already on our radar as a child that's needing extra support. And yes, the social worker guidance counselor, we would definitely be notified. And if they go to a new school, yes, we try to call over there, and we work very closely with the social workers, telling them what kind of services they received at school or have received, and mentoring would definitely be discussed.
And that's a good question, Joyce. And that's an appropriate question, particularly for mentors who've been with their students for a long period of time, and then the kids decide not to continue. I know that there can be like a little bit of sadness for the mentor, but also just the fact that you're vested in the best interest of the child to have that concern. And it can be frustrating for mentors sometimes in that you are limited to what information that you can receive. To be assured that they're being looked out for, but rest assured, we have professionals like Jen through all the schools who do look out after the kids. So I know sometimes that's not enough if you're a mentor who's worried about the student. But okay, so if there is no more questions, I would like to thank Jen for presenting the information here today. This webinar has been recorded and will be posted to our website later this afternoon for future reference, or if you'd like to share it with others, or if you're in a company and you'd like to pull your mentors in for a lunch and learn, that would be a great opportunity as well. So thank you all and have a great afternoon.